Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is so very special. It's a yet another 3 palettes, 3 looks video, and this week we are going to test out, actually re-love these palettes. Only one out of these 3 is pretty new to my collection, but let me tell you which ones we are diving into this week. We are going to dive into the Into the Night palette from GLAMINATRIX Cosmetics. This is such a beautiful fall tone palette, but also you can make it like summer because of these neons. I really love it. This is the look that you're seeing on my eyes right now. Absolutely loved it, and how effortless this palette is to create looks is amazing. The next palette that we're going to dive into is the Frosted Fairy palette from Kaima Cosmetics. This is a pretty new palette to me. This is a whole pastel palette, but this has some beautiful pops which I absolutely love and adore. The only difference in this palette is this yellow shade, the pastel-y yellow shade. I definitely wanted to put this in place of this. It was like a light gray shade. I feel like this makes it a hint more interesting, so I don't think that you would mind it at all. And last, certainly not the least, we are going to dip into the Element 115 palette from Adept Cosmetics. You know this palette it's going out, it's on a sale. I really want you guys to appreciate how beautiful this palette is, so I definitely wanted to dive into this even more. So if you guys want to see all these 3 palettes in action, please keep on watching. Let's start off with today's look, and I'm going to use my Into the Night palette from GLAMINATRIX Cosmetics. It's been quite some time that we have not used this palette, and I definitely wanted to give it another go. I'm going to dip into this Showbiz shade, which is like a grungy green, I would say. And I'm gonna take that in the outer corner. It's like a grayish green. I'm gonna place that in the outer corner. Give this green to me any day, I can rock it. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye. I actually did another look in the morning. That's why if my eyes are looking crusty, that's the reason why, okay? I'm going to start off with this shade, Cocktails, which is again a muted green. And I'm going to take that, blending the edges and then getting it into the crease. Slowly building everything out. Very pretty. Very blendable. There you go. For the lower lash line, I am going to take this shade, Nightlife, this blue. And I'm going to take that in the extreme outer corner. Just to get that hint of blue in the look. And then for the lower lash line, I'm going to go back into that muted green shade, Cocktails. And I'm going to just melt it with that blue on the lower lash line. That blue and the green also looks beautiful together as a pair. So if you don't want to do like a green and a muted green together, that green and blue would also be paired up really beautifully. Okay, time for shimmers. I am going to take this shade On the Rocks, this one. It is like a blue to a green, beautiful duochrome. And it's a very special duochrome. This is what I'm going to have on the majority of my eyelid today. And I'm going to melt it down with that deeper, grungier green shade. So it's something special, but it's not like too loud. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye. With nothing additional on the brush, I'm just tapping the edges just so that the blend is smooth. And then for the inner corner, I'm going to take this shade After Dark, the metallic silver shade. Maybe it's too much. Maybe. I'll try not to pick too much on the brush. And I'm going to take that in the inner corner. You can see how reflective that shade is. Okay. And I'm just going to gaze it down with the other On the Rock shade, just so that there's continuity going on. But I also don't want to press it with my fingers because this shade can be metallic, and that's not what I'm looking for right now. It's a very sparkly shade. Let me show it to you. You saw how I gazed it on my eyes, but I'll show you in like a swatch. Look how reflective that shade is. It can be like metallic if you really want it to be. Now I'm going to finish off this eye with some liner and mascara and I'll come right back. And there you go. That's my final look. I really love the way how this turned out. It's so minimal, but also it's very special. I absolutely love the Into the Night palette from GLAMINATRIX Cosmetics. This palette definitely has some unique tones, and the deeper tones, especially this side of the palette, is what I'm like really drawn to. It's very unique tones, at least in my collection, but also you can make it so much fun with these pops of neons. Today, I didn't want to dip into the neons, but this palette is so pretty. So beautiful and special. I definitely wanted to give you like a easy, quick, but special kind of look with this palette. Now let's move on to the next style look. Okay, let's begin with our Element 115 palette. I am going to take this green shade and melt it down with this deeper blue shade. So I'm going to start off with Conspiracy, which is that green. And I'm going to take that in my crease. It's a very pigmented shade, but it definitely needs some building. We'll slowly build the shade up and melt it with that blue. Okay, I'm just focusing that mainly on the inner part of the crease, just right there. Okay, let's take that deeper blue specimen. I'm gonna start building it up in the outer corner and then blending it with that green. I'm going to do the same thing on the other eye too. I'm going to do that specimen shade, the deeper blue, on the outer corner of the lower lash line too. Doing exactly the same thing that we did on the upper eyelid, and then taking that green Conspiracy shade on the inner part of the lower lash line and then just joining it together. I'm going to start off with this shade, which is Weather Balloon, this one, and I'm going to take that in the inner part of the eyelid, just right there. Okay, now once we have that all across the eyelid, I am going to take this shade, which is this one, Extraterrestrial. This is more like a green to a blue shifting shade, and I'm going to take that in the outer portion of the eyelid to melt it with that blue. I'm going to take this shade Classified for my inner corners. Then we finish this eye with some liner and mascara, and I'll come right back to show you my final look. And that's my final look with the Adept Element 115 palette. I really love how beautiful this eye look turned out. It's definitely vibrant, it's colorful, and this palette is a more purple leaning. I wanted to do something other than purple with this palette because I've done several looks with this palette on my channel before, but I feel like this green blue color story with a pop of pink just makes it a hint like a different look. I really love how this turned out. I cannot wait to wear this to office and see what people think about it. But that's all. Let's move on to the next eye look. Let's begin our third look with the Frosted Fairy palette. This is such a beautiful palette. I definitely want to play with the pink and the purple together, and then we'll give a contrast with the other shimmer shades in the palette. So let's begin. I am going to start off with that purple shade, the Pandora shade. It's such a beautiful purple shade. If we want to deepen it out a little bit more, we can definitely do that with that brown, but I'm going to start off with that because that brown at the end, Aria shade, that is definitely a little bit more deep, but this might do it. I'm just placing the shade first, and then we'll do the blending later. I'm also going to take that same shade Pandora on the outer corner of the lower lash line. Now slowly start blending the edges with no additional product, whatever was left over on that brush, just to get a gradient of that purple. Okay, now for the inner third of the crease, I am going to go into this shade Blossom, And this is Shadow number 3. And melting it with that purple. Okay, just like that. You can see, even though this the palette appears a lot pastel, but you can see how beautifully and vibrant it shows on my eyes. It definitely has a little bit of more mutedness as well as a little depth for this palette. I really love that for that aspect. I'm not a big pastel person, but this palette is beautiful. I feel like this is a pastel alternative for us with like medium tan skin tone. Just so pretty, right? So once we have that all across the mattes of the eye, now let's move on to the shimmers. I want to use that Willow shade, maybe Aurora. That is so pretty too. Yeah, let's take Willow actually, and then Aurora. So I'm going to take that Willow, which is a green to a pink shifting shade. And I'm going to take that on the center of the eyelid. Now you can see, I see pink on my eyelid right now. I'm sure as soon as I shift and turn, it's going to appear a little bit more green. Definitely see pink to a gold shift at my end. But I do see green at this corner. And I'm not applying any glitter glow. I've not experienced any creasing with this eyeshadow palette so far. And I do have creasy eyelids. So that's really good. Now I'm going to take that marbled shade. What was that called? Aurora. On the inner third of the eyelid. It definitely has pink, gold, green all running throughout it. Definitely much smoother than the Willow shade. Willow definitely has a little bit more texture to it, but it's very sparkly. So is this actually, but this is definitely much more smoother. I would definitely prefer a little bit more of a smoother texture in the shimmers as compared to like textured ones. With no additional product, just taking the same brush with that crease shade, just melting it out. Again with the same brush, no additional product, just tapping the edges. For the inner corner, what are we doing? Let's take this yellow shade, maybe a smaller brush. This Tinkerbell shade. Again, it picks out very nicely on the brush. And I'm taking that in the inner corner and placing it right there. That on the entire eyelid would also be absolutely amazing because it is like a yellow to a pink shifting shade. So that's all that we're going to do on our eyes. Let me finish off this eye with some liner and mascara and I'll come right back. And there you go. That's my final eye look. I love how vibrant, how beautiful, how ethereal, how dimensional these shadows are from Frosted Fairy Kaima Cosmetics palette. I really love each and every shade that was included in this palette. The only shade I feel like that is not that useful for me is this shade Olea, which is that lighter gray shade. But I actually, you might have seen it in the beginning of the video, I had like a pastel yellow shade there, and I feel like that just makes the palette like complete for me, and I would exchange it with that shade. Like you definitely can use that as like a blending shade, but otherwise I don't see much use, at least on my skin tone, with that shade. But otherwise, I love the way how each and every look turned out with this palette. I absolutely loved using this palette. Now let's move on to the outro. Now, once you've seen all the 3 looks using these palettes, do let me know out of the 3 palettes, which look was your favorite? Did you like the look with the Element 115 palette from Adept Cosmetics, or the Pastel Garden palette, which is Frosted Dream from Kaima Cosmetics? Such a beautiful and a special palette in my opinion. I really love it. If you've not seen this particular video, I'll link it in the iCards above. I've done like 3 dedicated looks using this palette also, just for an additional inspiration. And the third palette that we were using was the Into the Night palette from GLAMINATRIX Cosmetics. Do let me know out of the 3 looks which one was your favorite and which palettes do you want to see me use next. Do sound it down in the comment section below. But that's all for today. If you did like this video, you know what to do. Do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video.